Alright guys, hi, it's me again. And I have yet another video idea, something that I really want to talk about. And it's just something that I see come up a lot. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of this because there's so much that's floating around out there, and there are so many contradictory rumors that all supposedly stem from the same source, which is partially why I don't buy them. That supposedly, there's this Spidey summit, and oh, Marvel wants this, but no, now Marvel wants this, but no, now Marvel wants this, but no, now Marvel wants this. And it just goes on in an endless cycle of, what's really gonna happen, who's gonna wind up with the rights, what's going to happen to the actors, the cast, who winds up in what. Sony has posted the whole Sinister Six thing as if they're going to go along with it because, we're shocked by the fact that they're doing what they already said they were doing, apparently. I don't know. But the point is, there's something that I see pop up in a lot, and I do mean a lot, of articles on the topic in regards to Spider-Man, and if he wound up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where would he fit and how? And this idea that I really see being pushed by a lot of people kind of bothers me. It's this notion that Peter Parker needs to basically be introduced into the Avengers as a member, but they want him aged down. I mean, that's kind of confusing considering the fact that as of the second movie, he's still only about 19 years old. In the current franchise, but they want him aged down. They want him aged down to the point where he's a 15-year-old rookie. They want him basically aged down to the point where he's not only a rookie but 15 years old, and then they want him to join the Avengers and basically be mentored by either Captain America or Tony Stark. Now there's a problem with that, and it's something that really was a problem with it happening in the comics too. And that's what you're basically asking them to do, especially by aging him down like that. They literally want Spider-Man demoted to sidekick status. Because that is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to take Spider-Man and you're basically going to take away everything that made him so amazing. What made Peter Parker an amazing hero? What made everything he went through so incredible? The reason Captain America had so much respect for him. The reason Iron Man had so much respect for him. Thor had so much respect for him. All of them. Is because they knew, or at least they found out, that he had been doing that since he was a kid. All those years he soldiered on his own, fought all these enemies that were far stronger than he was, faced death many times, even saved their butts a few times, and he was still in high school. He was a boy. By society standards, he's a boy. And he was able to go out there, he was able to face all that, and he was able to come out on top. And as he got older and more mature and more grounded, yes, he got progressively better. And that was when he was finally formally, fully invited to become a member of the Avengers. When he was old enough to handle it. Even when he was when he was a kid, he was sort of offered it, but it was only on the condition that he helped them bring the Hulk in, and he mistakenly also believed that they were attempting to harm him in some way, and out of sympathy for the Hulk, let him go, and etc. But they also didn't know that he was a kid. They barely even knew him. They just knew he had superpowers and he could help them. But the fact of the matter is, he also wasn't mature enough to be willing to be part of a team. He didn't want to take orders from anyone. He wanted to be his own boss. The Spider-Man persona at that point in his life was very liberating to him. He had always been a bit of a, mousy, stuttering, nervous, picked on kid. And here he was with his mask on, this anonymity. Honestly, it's a fairly good comparison that someone once used is like internet comments. Now, granted, Peter did not become a full-on douchebag, but you notice how people, when they have the protection of anonymity on the internet, are willing to say things that they themselves may not be so willing to say if they had to put their real name on it. It's because it's slightly liberating. You feel the ability to express yourself more without fear of repercussion, and that's what he had. Because then, when it was all said and done, he could take that mask back off and he'd go back to being himself. Now, that's not to say the two personalities were like night and day, not by a long shot. Even as, nerdy picked on Peter Parker, he would still sometimes crack a joke. He'd still, he'd attempt to talk to people. He had something of the life. Especially as he got a little bit older and his confidence grew a bit more. But the people also act like that those two personalities are night and day, that he's supposed to be like George McFly one second and then borderline Deadpool or something the next. It gets ridiculous. But I just never thought I'd see the day when people want Spider-Man to be this sidekick character, to need this guiding figure in his life to shape him. No, he needs the exact opposite of that. And that's what I mean. If you're going to age him down in the MCU, then he's got no business being a member of the Avengers. I'm sorry. None. Because he needs to form his own identity. Period. For the life of me, I cannot figure some people out sometimes. Actually, yes, I can. I know exactly where this started. That whole stupid super family headcanon crap on Tumblr. Oh, God. Anyway, but the point is, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, what made him so amazing was the fact that as a child, as a kid, he went through all that on his own. He faced his greatest enemy. He faced death. He had to experience the loss of someone he loved. And he did that without any mentor, without anyone to talk him through it. The only people he had were his Aunt May, whom he had to take care of just as much as she took care of him. His best friend, who had just gone crazy at that point in time, in an almost permanent drug-addled stupor, and Mary Jane, who at the time he had considered to be extremely, a bit of a party animal, and she was at the time, but she recognized the seriousness of that situation. She refused to just leave him for the sake of her own comfort and stayed there with him. That is where she started to change. That is where he started to grow up. And going through all this without any kind of, safety net support group there. That is what, shaped him. And that's why after having gone through all that, these people can respect him the way they do. It's why Captain America and Iron Man got in J. Jonah Jameson's face and basically said that, they said, lay off him. He has sacrificed more for the sake of his country, his city, this planet than you can ever imagine. Most people would have broken if they had to go through half of what he went through. And that is a fact. And again, this is what makes him so amazing. And to take that and yank it out from under him and just make it so that, he's learning from Big Brother Tony or Big Brother Steve, that's all cutesy family stuff, sure, but it's not Spider-Man. And you don't need him to be a kid to have him bond with them, I'm sorry. You don't need to have him be a full-fledged 28-year-old Peter Parker that I guess they finally stated his age now. But you definitely don't need to turn him into a 15, 16-year-old. What's wrong with the age they've got him at now? I'm not even saying, before anyone throws a fit, I'm not even saying that they necessarily have to continue the movies now. I'd prefer they did, but they don't have to. But what's wrong with the age he's at now? He's in college, he's experienced, he's gone through losing Gwen, he's at a point in his life where, yeah, this would be a fairly good place to insert him if you want someone who's young and yet still has his own experience to draw from. Especially since people want him in that Civil War scenario so bad. Well, what morals is he going to draw from? It's going to be basically him joining whoever he leans on the most, right? Whoever he got the closest to? Is that what this is supposed to be? Or should we give him his own wellspring of history and moral dilemmas and choices he's had to make and moral code he has developed for him to choose? And again, this is what I meant. I just really think that people want to see a Spider-Man that is not Spider-Man. That is more and more becoming apparent to me.